She went to the hospital with a basic stomach pain. But when the surgeon whispered, "Your appendix was already removed," the whole room went still. Margaret Scott was not the type to rush to doctors for every ache. 53 years old, a nurse with 30 years of experience, she could outstare pain like a prizefighter. But this morning it wasn't just pain. It was a sharp, grinding twist in her gut, like a rusty corkscrew being turned slowly and cruelly. "Maybe just gas," she muttered, doubling over the sink, sweat trickling down her temple. But the ache didn't pass. It pulsed and curled deeper inside her. And when she almost collapsed by the fridge, her son Joshua appeared in the hallway, rubbing his eyes. "Mom, you okay?" "Perfectly fine. Just dying a little. Carry on." He offered to call an ambulance. She refused. She'd driven people in worse shape to the ER and came out with nothing but an Advil and a bill. She'd drive herself. But when she got to the hospital, things took a strange turn. During the intake, the nurse asked flatly, "Have you ever had your appendix removed?" "No." "Are you sure?" Margaret blinked. Of course she was sure. Wouldn't she remember something like that? Ultrasound, blood work, standard routine, everything pointed to appendicitis. She was prepped for emergency surgery. But then the surgeon, a calm, older man with tired eyes, leaned in right before they wheeled her in and whispered, "There's no need to operate. The appendix is already gone." "What are you talking about?" she snapped. "You're mistaken. No, there are no signs of inflammation. And your appendix isn't there. It was removed likely years ago." She was stunned. "No, that's impossible. I would know." But even as she said it, a faint memory crept in. Her mother on the phone years ago whispering, "No, she doesn't remember anything. As long as she never finds out." She'd assumed it was about her father. But now doubt slithered in. Why would someone remove her appendix as a child and never tell her? And what else was taken from her without consent? FOMO. What happens next will unravel everything she thought she knew. You won't want to miss how far this truth goes. "Mom, just tell me who took it out." She called her mother for answers. 2 hours later, someone from the psychiatric clinic knocked on her door. Margaret didn't remember the drive home. She'd operated the car on muscle memory. Hands on the wheel, mind spinning like a broken reel. She cleaned the apartment, washed dishes, sorted laundry, all robotic. But when she finally sat on the couch, she grabbed the phone and dialed her mother. "Hi, Mom." "Margaret? What's wrong?" "I went to the hospital today." "Are you okay?" "They said I don't have an appendix." Pause. "I never had it removed." Silence. "Mom, that can't be right. They showed me scans. There's no scar. But no appendix either." Another pause. Then, "You've always been forgetful, Margaret. Maybe it happened and you just don't recall. You were always dramatic." "Who took it out?" Margaret asked, her voice cold. "I'm not discussing this." "Why?" "I did what I thought was best." Click. She hung up. 2 hours later, 2 social workers knocked. Psychiatric services. Said they got an anonymous call. Someone was concerned about Margaret's mental state. She laughed. "You've got the wrong house." They insisted on checking anyway. Found nothing. No signs of harm. Just an exhausted woman standing in the center of a spotless living room, seething with quiet rage. Her mother had called them. She knew it. That night, Margaret dug out a box of old photos. Flipping through the faded pictures, she paused at one. She was 7, wearing pajamas, a bandage peeking from under her shirt, right where the appendix would have been. The back of the photo read, "Margaret 7yo after her cold." A cold? With a bandage on her abdomen? Something was deeply wrong. This is the moment it all begins to break apart. She's about to uncover something no child should have to face. You weren't at a hospital. You were institutionalized. She thought it was a surgery, until a retired doctor told her, "You were never in a hospital. That was a psych ward." She filed an official records request. She contacted old hospitals, searched archived files, even called a retired surgeon. Nothing. Then a week later a manila envelope arrived. From Greenvale Medical Archives. Inside. Patient Margaret Scott. Age 7. Location. Greenvale Youth Facility. Diagnosis. Acute neurotic behavior. Episodes of aggression. Suspected self-harm. Procedure. Appendectomy performed under inpatient supervision. Note: procedure authorized under parental consent. Patient admitted to restricted psychiatric wing. Psychiatric wing. At age 7, Margaret stared at the words until her vision blurred. She called her mother again. Demanded answers. Her mother finally admitted it. "You were scaring me," she said. "You screamed. You broke mirrors. You hit a girl at school. So you put me in a ward? I didn't know what else to do. You could have told me. You could have told me any of this. You would have hated me. You locked me away. And I didn't even know." Later that day, Margaret drove to a senior facility to speak with Dr. Carl, the surgeon listed on the old report. He remembered her. "You were quiet. Distant," he said. "I remember thinking, you didn't belong there. Why did they operate? You complained of pain. Legitimate symptoms. But even then I wasn't sure if the pain was real or planted." Planted. He hesitated. Sometimes parents want a diagnosis more than a solution. Margaret walked out shaking. Her identity, her childhood rewritten. She had been institutionalized. And no one told her. She now knows what they did to her body. But what they did to her mind is just beginning to surface. "You knew. You knew all along." She showed up at her mother's door with documents in hand. But instead of remorse, her mother said, "You wouldn't have survived the truth." She stood at her mother's doorstep at 9 a.m. No warning. No pretense. Her mother opened the door in a robe. Frown etched deep. "What are you doing here? We need to talk." Inside, same old kitchen. Roosters on the tablecloth, foggy window, bitter smell of instant coffee. Margaret laid out the documents. Hospital records. Psychiatric files. Her own missing year. "I was locked up," she said. "At 7. You were unstable. I was a child. You had episodes. Night terrors. Imaginary friends. I was terrified. You sent me away. I tried to save you." "From what?" "From becoming like him." "Dad." Her mother nodded. "He said you were just like him. That you'd grow cold. Violent. But he left. He left because he couldn't fix himself. And I couldn't fix you." They sat in silence. Then the bedroom door opened. A tall, silver-haired man stepped out. Margaret's stomach dropped. "Margot?" he asked softly. It was her father. Alive. Standing in her mother's home. She'd been told he died decades ago. Her father explained. "I moved away. Your mother said you didn't want to see me. That I reminded you of everything bad. You believed her? I didn't know what else to do." The truth was rotting right there at the table. Her mother buried it. And buried her along with it. Now she knows who lied. But what she does with that truth will define the rest of her life. "I didn't need the whole truth. I just needed to know I wasn't a mistake." She could have cut her mother out forever. Instead, she whispered, "I don't forgive. But I release." And finally, something in her soul exhaled. Margaret returned to work. Smiled. Charted vitals. Took temperatures. But inside something was shifting. She visited the park where she once fell off her bike as a kid. Sat on the same bench. Listened to the chaos of the world. This is real, she thought. Messy, noisy, true. A week later a letter arrived. From her mother. "I was scared. Not of you, of myself. I didn't know how to raise you. I thought if I never said the truth aloud, it would disappear. You've become someone I don't deserve to call my daughter. I don't ask for forgiveness. Just do what you need to do with this truth. Margaret read it once. Then again. No tears. She drove to the house. No drama. Just a final visit. I'm not here to forgive, she said. I'm here to let go. I'm done carrying this weight. Her mother nodded. Didn't argue. Didn't cry. At the door, Margaret turned and asked, "You were scared I'd turn out like Dad?" Her mother said softly, "No. You turned out better." That night, Margaret wrote a letter to her 7-year-old self. You are not broken. You are not dangerous. You survived a system that didn't understand you. You are not a mistake. You are a miracle. You are free. And this time she actually felt it.